I don't quite know how I follow something as amazing and personal and wonderful as that, but I know she would have been so touched by that, Lizzie. Thank you for everything that you said. Well, I was going to say for those who don't know me, I'm Pev, but you probably feel like you know far too much about me already after that introduction. As you can tell from the accent, I'm the one you can thank for bringing this lovely day of London weather, which again I think is a fitting tribute to a period in her life that Kathleen loved. Kathleen was my mother's best friend at Sarah Lawrence at college, and then moved over to London, where she became very much the focal point of my dad's group of friends, and so many of them that I've seen over the last few days have sent so much love and affection and happy memories of Kathleen and the times they all had together. My dad actually just texted me this morning to say he was thinking back to that first time that he met Kathleen 60 years ago, and saying if I hadn't gone to the Australian pub in Chelsea that night, I never would have met Kathleen. Oh, and also, you never would have been born. So I have that to be grateful for. Kathleen was, always will be my godmother. And I think that's a role that, as a very avowed and determined atheist, she absolutely relished the contradiction that implied. She was a huge influence on my life. I remember the first time I showed up in New York, in the West Village, in her co-op back in the mid-70s, as a little shy 5-year-old English boy. I realized even back then that I was in the presence of a true force of nature. She was always fizzing with energy, full of ideas, full of stories, full of questions, and surrounded always by a load of interesting, weird, wonderful, fascinating, and diverse friends. And the other thing I remember is even then, she always treated me as an equal. She never talked down to anybody, old, young, wherever they'd come from. She was always interested. And I think that's really the essence of Kathleen. She was always at the center of the action. She was always interested in people, always interested in their stories, and was always helping people find and be the very best that they could be, whatever that was. So for over 40 years, I would never, ever make a trip to New York without going to Lincoln Place to see Kathleen. We'd sit and we'd set the world to rights late into the night on all sorts of topics, usually over multiple enormous bottles of Californian red wine. And of course, Kathleen could always outdrink me. A trait which I noticed Lizzie inherited when on one of those visits, Lizzie introduced me to the quintessential art of beer chugging. A moment at which this supposed perfect mask, I think, finally drops. I think she'd love that we're all here celebrating. She'd hate that she was missing it. I'm going to miss her enormously. But one thing's for sure, she will never, ever be forgotten.